So we'll get started for today with today's topic, which is going to be visualization. So far we have focused more on getting the data in Power BI and working with the data in terms of adding or cleaning the data and transforming the data by creating the data model and setting up the relationships and so on. So today what we are going to do is build the visualizations out of that data, and which is the main part of any visualization tool. Okay, so let's get started and start exploring what all visualizations Power BI has to offer. So the first step that needs to be done is that we need to go to the Power BI desktop tool that we already have, and then we need to start creating reports. So reports are simply what we see in the first pane over here, which says report. So as soon as we click on this pane of report, if we have already built some pages of the reports, we'll see them here. Otherwise, we can just go and add a new page and start building a report from blank. And then once we have built our reports, we can publish them from here to the Power BI service, where we can build a dashboard on top of these reports and then also share them with other people. Okay. So for today, we are going to focus on building the reports using these different visualizations that we have available in Power BI. And then tomorrow, we'll see how we can use the Power BI service to publish them to the workspace and then share it with other colleagues or other users. Okay, so I'm on this report pane right now. And we can see that we have certain panes on the right hand side. So I've minimized the filters. Okay. Okay, so once you get inside the Power BI and click on this report icon on the left hand side, you will get this window. Now, this window has different panes. The very first part, which is over here on the left hand side, which is a blank designer canvas. This is where we'll be designing our report. Then on the right hand side, we have different panes, which are filters, visualizations, and fields. Visualizations are just the different kinds of visualizations that can be built with Power BI. And then you have the field list, and then you have a pane that shows you the filters that would be applied on the report that we have built. You can just minimize or hide them using this arrow button over here. So we'll hide the filters for now so that we have more space over here to design our report. All right, so there are different ways in which we can start designing our reports. We can just directly go to the field list and drag and drop some fields and columns over onto the canvas, and then Power BI will take a guess of the best possible, or it would default it to either a table report or a bar chart kind of report. Uh, or it would take a guess based on the data type of the columns that we are pulling. And then we can change the kind of the visualization by selecting any of the appropriate visualization from this list over here. Or we can start by clicking on the visualization over here. It will get added to this designer canvas, and then we can add our fields over here. So as we can already see, there are different kinds of visualizations available over here. Just by like hovering over them, we can see what is that visualization, what is that called. So this is, for example, a stacked bar chart, and we can just see from the icon like what kind of graphs that would be available under that visualization type. So it shows the shape and um, the look of the graph over on the icon itself. Okay, so let's start with the very basic graphs, which are going to be your table charts or the matrix charts. Now, there are different kind of things that we can do even with the table and matrix charts, and they are mainly to be used when you want to display the exact quantity, uh, like in a very list kind of format. So you want to see how much was your sales on this category, you want the exact number, you want it to be displayed right across. So it's simply a table kind of structure, as you can see in any Excel sheet. And it is useful in cases when you want to take a detailed look at the data in the report. So tables and matrices would be useful there. So let's see what is the difference between tables and matrices first. So as we said that we have two different ways of designing the visualization. So let's start by going to the fields list and pulling the fields and see what kind of visualization is created by Power BI. Now for all this demo, I'm using the sales and marketing PBIX, which is a demo sample data set available, and the sample data sets provided by Power BI and Microsoft itself. So you can just download that PBIX and open that, and then we can use the data that is available for that. Okay, so now I have got on my fields list something like the sales fact, which is obviously going to contain the measures that we can measure. And then these are the different categories, which are basically something like dimensions or textual attributes around which we are going to slice and dice our data. So let's start with some attributes and see what we get um, in our canvas window. So let's start, let's say, with the category, and let's just drag and drop. So just select the column and drag and drop it to the window, and we'll see that there's something like a table that has already been formed over here. And then the next thing I want to drag on this is probably the manufacturer. So just drag and drop it to the this chart itself, and it will get added over here. Now this is not very visible, so what we can do is go to the format pane over here and search for text. So there is a search functionality over here. If you just search for text, you'll get all the fields which have the text size feature enabled for them, and we can just go and increase the text size from here so that it becomes more clearer for us to view. All right. Okay, so now it is much more clearer. So what we have right now is a simple table chart. If you click on this visualization, you'll get that visualization is also highlighted in this visualizations pane, which is the table chart. So if you're not sure of the name, you can just check from there as well. We can just reposition it and resize it just by dragging along these edges of this table chart. So for now, we just have got two attributes, simple attributes. We have no numerical measures in this table chart. So by default, Power BI has created a table chart for us. Now what we are going to do is add some measure, which we are going to measure. So let's say we want to add the sales dollars to it. So again, we can just drag and drop it over to the chart and it will get added. Okay. Now, instead of just dragging and dropping it over the chart, what we could have also done is, so if we take the sales out of this, we can take a look at the properties that this visualization has. So on the very first pane over here, it is called the fields well, and then you have these different buckets over here. So in this fields well, you have something called the values. Now these properties or these buckets which are available would vary based on the kind of visualization we are designing. So for this is a very simple table chart for now. So we just have one property that we need to add values to, and this values is basically whatever is shown over here. So we can directly go and add the fields to this list as well. So instead of just dragging and dropping it to this table chart, what we can also do is maybe just drag and drop it to the values bucket over here, or we can just select it over here and it will get added to the values bucket as well as to the chart over here. So when you create a table chart, some of the common things that you'll see is that a grand total row would get added that would sum up all the different matrix values on this side of the chart. So whatever measure we have measuring, you'll get a total row at the end that would sum up all the values of that measure. Now this is pretty simple. If you go to the format tab over here, you'll see that there are some formatting options available. So we'll take a look at them first. Let's take a look at the matrix or the matrix report so that we know what is the difference between the look and feel of the two. So matrix, if you just click out of the visualization and then okay, I'm just checking the messages. Okay, what is this? Okay, I click somewhere else, some question pane got added. Okay, so now I have clicked outside the visualization, and the next thing that I'm trying to add now is going to be my matrix report. So this time I'm going to select the visualization first and then add the fields to that visualization. So just go over the visualizations pane and click on the kind of report that you want. So this is your matrix report that has got added over here. Obviously we want to reposition it, so just click on it and position it wherever you want. And we also want to resize it, so just resize it accordingly. Now, once we have added the matrix report, you will see that on this fields well, the buckets have changed. So in the case of table report, we just had values. But in the case of matrix, if we select this visualization, we have something called the rows, we have something called the columns, and then we have the values. So these rows and columns are basically going to define the um, different axes of this crossbar chart. So rows, let's say we want on the rows the different manufacturers, so same data, and the way and the data that we are going to visualize is the sales data. So let's just drag and drop the sales to the values list over here first. Okay, so now you can see that there's one big summed up amount because we have summed up the data um, for the whole of the data set that we have. Again, I need to change my text size because this is making it look very small. Okay, so this is only because it is on the designer window. Once you have the actual report, it would look fine. So you can adjust your text size. Adjust your text size when you're designing it for the business based on the final view and not what you're seeing on the designer window. This is just for us to see the values clearly. Okay, so now we have the whole summed up sales dollars amount. I want to categorize it or slice and dice it by certain attributes. So I'm going to add to my rows the manufacturer. So let's just add the manufacturer. So this is the list of the manufacturers. And to my columns, I want to see, let's say, the category. So just drag and drop it to the columns over here. And now we can see the category. So now this is what it is looking like. And as soon as I click on any of the other visualization on just one value from that visualization, the other visualization is also going to get filtered that we have already seen earlier. This is how it works. The filters are interactive. So I'm just going to click anywhere outside so that I get everything selected. And I'm just going to move it here so that we can see all the values. Okay, so this is what my matrix chart is looking like. So obviously it is a crossbar chart. So we have the manufacturers on one axis, we have the categories on another axis, and then we have the totals added across rows as well as across column. Okay, so this is the difference in the look and feel for a table chart and a matrix chart, as we can see over here. Okay, so now let's go over the different properties that Power BI offers to format these kind of charts. So these are basic charts we can easily design just by dragging and dropping the right columns that we want to appear in our visualization. But then there are certain characteristics or features that we can change for these so that we have more control over how the charts look. So for that, what we are going to do is go over to this format icon over here. And as soon as you click on it, you will see that you have these different subheadings based on what you can change your look and feel of the report. Okay, so let's start with the very basic one, which is predefined style of your charts. So what you can do, I have the matrix chart selected, and once you go to the format bar over here, you have something called the style. So if you click on style, and this is available even for the table chart, you'll see later on. So if you click on the style over here, you'll see that there are different kinds of styles. So if you click on the drop down over here, you will see that you have a style which is default, none, minimal, bold header, and so on. So these are pre-built styles which Power BI provides. So let's go to, let's say, the minimal one. So if you see minimal, it just changes, it keeps it very simple, changes your, let's say, mm, changes the font over here. Okay. We remove the filter. Okay. So it makes it a minimal kind of font, as we can see. Now let's go back and change the style to something else to see how it impacts the visualization. So if I want the header to be bold, I can just select bold header and it would format it this way. So this is an easy option if you just quickly want to change it. And then you can have alternating rows. So this is also very simple. All right. So it has just highlighted your headers, totals, and your rows were already alternating with different colors, as you can see. Then you have the option of contrast, alternating rows. So something like that. Then you can have it very flashy. You can have it bold header and flashy rows. So these are the different options you can use. Then you can have sparse and you can have condensed. So these are all the pre-built options that you can use to format your uh, charts as well quickly. And then if you want to customize your formatting, then you have all this information that you have. So this is the page formatting because we have not selected any visualization. If you select the visualization and go to the format tab, you'll see that all these things are available over here. So style we have already seen. The other option which might be of use is grid. Grid is basically these lines between the different columns and rows. So if you click the vertical grid to on, your color, let's leave the color to light gray, and if you increase the thickness, you'll see that there's a vertical grid that is forming over here. Okay, so now you can see that these are the grid lines separating the different categories over here. The same way you can click on the horizontal grid option as well, and then you can increase the thickness of the grid to be able to view it. So if you increase the thickness over here, you will see these grid lines very clearly. So you can play around with this formatting the way you want it. You can change the text size and different things. If you go to the column headers, you can change the font of the column headers, background, uh, the background color, and so on. So simple formatting options. These are very simple. You can just go through them and you'll be able to understand them. Row headers, simple. Then we have the subtotals option and the grand totals option. So you have them at the row level and the column levels. Because this is a matrix chart, you can switch them on and off whatever way you want. So you can switch them off if you do not want to show the subtotals, because maybe sometimes you don't want to show them, so you can play around with that as well. Then you have field formatting is basically how you want to display these amounts. You want to display the decimal places or not. And then these are all very self-understood. You can change the title, you can search, you can turn the title on and off, give it a title. uh, if you turn it on, you can provide your title text and you can change the font color and so on. So these are some options which are going to be similar for the other visualizations as well, because these are common standard formatting options. For some visualizations though, you will get some different options based on the kind of visualization. So for example, for this visualization, we have an interesting option over here, which is called the conditional formatting. So it is something like the conditional formatting in Excel, where you can define a condition and based on that, the columns can be colored. So this is one of the interesting features that you can use in the matrix and table reports to make them look more visually attractive to the business user. So if you click on conditional formatting, you have all these various options over here where you can say, if you say that your condition formatting is going to be based on the sales amount, so that is what we want it to base on. If you want to switch the background color on for that, then you can see that there are different shades of colors that it has filled these cells with for the sales dollars. you can see that this one stands out over here because this is the maximum sales dollar amount in all these categories combined. And then it has given you different shades. If you do not like these shades, you can go over here to the advanced controls. Okay. And then, oh, just a second. Okay, you can go over there, you can click on the advanced control, and this is the window that will pop up. And in this, you can select your uh, the colors that you want based on which field you want to color it, or you can enter some constant values as well. So this is going to be from the lowest to the highest value, and it has selected this. You can make it diverging so that you have then different colors over here. So let's make it just diverging and say okay. So you'll get different shades. Again, if you do not like these colors, we can go and change these colors to something else as well. Okay, so let's start them with no, make it a little shade lighter. Okay, so based on these different shades of the colors, we can easily identify which range the values are falling in. So this is going to be your conditional formatting. Okay, so this is going to be similar to what we do in Excel, and this is going to be valid for the table chart as well. But there are different interesting options as well. So what is the option that we have chosen right now is for the background color. What we can also do is change the font color as well. So you can switch this on. If you switch this on, again, it will give you a similar chart. You can define your color palette, which color palette you want, what kind of colors you want it to start with. So I want it to start with probably just some lighter shades of this, and the highest value should be this. You want to make it diverging again, okay, and you want to make it a little standout kind of thing over here. So these are different shades in which you can get your colors, so you can select your colors accordingly. Um, so these are going to be your basic formatting options. You can try either the background color or the font color. Background color stands out more because it makes it more easy to have a quick grasp at the visualization and get the information visually. Um, but if you do not want to do these, let's switch them off. The other options, interesting options, and obviously you can combine all these options together as well. Now let's see what are these data bars. Okay, so these are interesting things actually. If you switch this on, and what is going to happen is you're going to see these different data bars appear over here, something like a chart. Okay, so this is going to show you it is again, if you click on the advanced control, it is the same. It is going to take it from the lowest value to the highest value, and you can define your positive and the negative bars. The bar direction has to be left to right or right to left, that you can choose. You can also choose this option where it says show bar only, so that it is not overlapping, and what now you will see is just the bars. So maybe you want a visualization like that where you just want to see the bar. If you hover over on that, you will be able to see the exact amount as well. Now in our case, for some of the quantities or some of the manufacturers, it's very negligible, so it's not very it's not conveying a lot of information, but you might have information in your chart that would look attractive with just the bars. um, so let's try it on the table. Let's go to the table, and from the table, if we, let's say, remove the manufacturer, so it's a very simple table now with just some 4 columns in it. Let's go to the format tab and go to conditional formatting over here. And in the conditional formatting, what we're going to do on this one is, okay, this doesn't have that option of bars. Okay, so this has the option of background color, font color, icons, and web URL. Okay. Okay, so let's try out the icons one on the table chart. Let's switch it on. What it is going to do is format by rules or field value. You can define your rules over here, which are automatically defined by default. It is something like a KPI, as you can see, which is if your value is greater than this percentage, you can define the range of percentages, and you can choose your symbols that you want to display. So there are a list of symbols that you have over here. So it's a simple if then else statement. Um, you can based on it on your field, so it is simply saying your count of category. You can say that you want it to be based on let's say you want it to be based on field value, based on field of sales dollars. Okay, it's grayed out for some reason. Summarization first last. Let's take it by rules based on field. Okay, it's not sales dollar. And if the value is greater than this, then these symbols will be shown. If you just say OK, then you can see the different symbols appear over here based on the rules that we define for these icons. And if we do the same over here on this chart, go to conditional formatting. Let's switch off the data bar so that we come back to the values over here. And let's try the icons option over here. So on, by default, you'll be able to see all these icons coming over here. And if you go to advanced controls, it has taken it by rules based on your field that you can see, which you can select from here. And should be the one on the visualization. Then you can define your rules. So by default, they are already defined the percentage ranges as 0 to 33, 33 to 67, 67 to 100. And you can choose these symbols, and this is all percent. You can change all these values, and you can give a static number instead of a percentage if you want it that way. Okay, so these make it look like a little like KPIs. So these are pretty interesting features that we can use for the table and matrix charts. Okay, the other interesting thing that we can do, and it's not just with the table and matrix charts, it's with the other charts as well. And it's basically when you have multiple charts or visualizations on your report, you can turn the border on and off. So if you turn on the border, and you can also define the different properties of the border, like the color you want, or you can define your own diverging color palette as well based on some logic that you want to define. As for conditional formatting, and you can define the width of this, so you can increase this to so that your bar. Okay, so now you can see that there's a nice border around this, so it makes it easy to visualize again. So you can have a border on each of your charts, so it is easy to visualize and separate or distinguish between the different charts.